Hi, everyone. Got some kind of a alarm going off here in the background. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us on a Sunday afternoon for the second of our COVID-19 Maker Challenges. This challenge focuses specifically on environmental management services, and we really appreciate you all taking out time from your Sunday, which is, we know, a very much needed time of relaxation, to join us this afternoon to celebrate the amazing accomplishments of these maker teams that we'll be watching here in just a few minutes. So a couple things. Just want to introduce myself. I'm Dallas Blaney. I'm the Executive Director of Challenge America. And Challenge America is a national veteran nonprofit, and normally that's what we do. We normally work on veteran related issues. Over the last 3 years, in fact, we've worked with our good friend Danielle Krikora and her group at the Veteran Health Administration Innovation Ecosystem to design a challenge program to create innovative products that improve the lives of injured veterans. And we stood up this program in 2019, and it exceeded our wildest expectations. We produced 17 working prototypes, most of which have moved on to an advanced stage of product development, and a few are actually getting ready to reach the market. So we're really excited about our success there, and we're excited to continue on in that effort. But then COVID-19 hit. And if you know Danielle, you know that she's not the kind of person who lets a global pandemic get in her way. So she reached out and said, hey, why don't we pivot and refocus our program on the needs of essential workers confronting COVID-19? Of course, we said yes. And 3 weeks later, we were starting our first program. And that first program focused specifically on the challenges confronting first responders, so fire, police, paramedics. And now we're 4 weeks past that program, and we're focused now on the challenges confronting housekeepers, custodial staff, environmental management services. So we're really excited about the progress we've made so far. It's been a very heavy lift on our end to get where we are today. We had to take a program that was 5 months long and shrink that down to just a week. So it's been a real challenge, but it's been very exciting, and we can't be happier with the outcomes that we've seen from the program. It's absolutely been incredible. I just want to take a brief moment to thank a bunch of folks who made all of this possible. On my team are Maggie Tolan, Rhonda Schneider, and Houston Cowan, who without them, none of this work would be possible. Also, Danielle Krikora over at VHA Innovation Ecosystem. She's absolutely amazing. So we're so thrilled to have her as part of the team. And of course, we want to thank our partners and our sponsors. Particularly, I want to do a call out for our financial sponsors, Salesforce and Caresoft. Their support has really been essential to get us to where we are now. And above all, I want to thank the amazing makers, the engineers and designers, and as well as the folks who are on the front lines of this specific challenge, the folks who are dealing with the housekeeping side of things, who stood up and took a leap of faith with us and submitted some challenges for us, and then worked with those teams to actually help those teams get to the point they are today. So it's been absolutely amazing to witness their progress over the last week, and I think shortly here you'll get to experience that too. So the way this program will work this afternoon is that we will turn over the mic here shortly to our guest speaker, after which we will introduce our judges who will evaluate each of the team presentations. And then we'll slide into the actual team presentations. There will be a short intermission after the presentations conclude, where the judges will sneak off into a breakout room while we all get to enjoy some live music, which should be really wonderful. And then afterward, the judges will return and rejoin us so that we can hear the winners of the awards at the end, and then we'll wrap everything up. So I think we've got a really great program for you. So please bear with us. It'll take about 2.5 hours to get through all this, but I think you'll really enjoy it. So next up, without further ado, we have our speaker, and I'm so excited to have her join us today. Our speaker is Vanda Broom, and Vanda is the Deputy Director of Environmental Programs Service for the Veteran Health Administration, and she works in the office of the Deputy Undersecretary for Health Operations and Management. So she has a very important job that focuses specifically on the topic we're addressing this week with environmental management services. So it's such a thrill to have her with us today. And without further ado, sorry, I was supposed to do this just a second earlier. I'm juggling a few things. So thanks for bearing with me. So without further ado, I'll hand everything over to Vanda. Vanda? Well, it looks like Vanda might be a little bit late to the program. So what I'll do in the meantime, while we're waiting for Vanda to join us, I'll just jump in here quickly. Oh, looks like Vanda's on. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Hi, Vanda.
Are you able to hear me?
We are. Thank you.
Oh, good. I had a moment there with the audio. So Dallas, thank you so much. I am super excited to be part of this today. I was very familiar with hackathons, but quite frankly, I had never heard of a makeathon. Several of my good friends are in the computer science world, and hackathons have become super popular. It is a great way to find innovation. I'm so glad to see their innovation center is doing this. To everyone who made the COVID-19 Makeathon possible, thank you. I know it's a ton of work. And before I jump into my remarks, I do want to thank one other person, and that is Ben Guerrera. Ben Guerrera is our program manager for healthcare sanitation within EPS. Ben was a former EMS chief at the Lexington, Kentucky VA. He was also the former co-chair of the VHA Directors Advisory Board to advise the program office on all things healthcare sanitation related. He was also the former winner of the EMS Chief of the Year Award. So you guys are super lucky to have Ben today as one of your panel members. So I'm going to jump right in. As Dallas mentioned, I'm the Deputy Director of Environmental Program Service. About 8-9 months ago, we merged with Healthcare Environmental Facilities Program. So we're one of 4 programs that deal solely with the environment where veterans are served. Why focus on EMS? A lot of people are asking, why focus on the EMS worker and why now? Well, we know that housekeeping aides are the underappreciated workforce within VHA. They do a tremendous amount of work. They do jobs every day that most of us dread doing once a week or once every other week. They do it 8 hours a day, every day, from sanitation to waste removal to making sure the veteran has the clean textiles on their bed or a clean gown or pajamas to put on while we serve them. COVID-19 clearly created some additional challenges for EMS, but as we know, challenges prove to serve as opportunities. We took advantage of that, and I know the group today is going to take advantage of that and come up with some phenomenal innovation activities. Our ability to address these challenges created by COVID-19 has been unmatched. This enemy has been, in my VA career of 30 years, the toughest enemy so far. We've dealt with hurricanes, we've dealt with earthquakes, we dealt with Ebola, but this one came from nowhere, it came fast, and it's been the toughest enemy we've had to combat. The better that EMS workers are able to attack this enemy and the more competent and skilled they are, the better we can accelerate the pace of our economy to get back on track, where we can celebrate the great economy that we had just before this and the phenomenal job numbers that we had before this. And I think I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel where we're actually headed in that direction. So why is a make-a-thon so important? Make-a-thons create innovations. Make-a-thons are where great things happen that probably would have never happened before. They help build public awareness. They're unprecedented challenges like this COVID-19, and it causes the essential workers and like environmental management service employees from the front lines to speak up and say, you know what, if we did this, we could do a better job for our veterans. Within VHA, we have nearly 12,000 Job Series 3566 housekeeping aides on duty right now. That doesn't count the 15–20% more that are contract EMS workers. 90% of those 12,000 are veterans. So we have veterans caring for veterans every day. I doubt there's a greater mission in the world for an EMS worker. So in closing, I want to mention a couple of things. When a veteran comes into our facility for care, they care about two things right off the bat. It looks good and it smells good. Rarely are our veterans able to determine whether their cardiologist has been published in the Journal of Medicine. They don't know what school our cardiologist went to or orthopedic surgeon. They do know if their room is clean, if their trash is empty, if their bed is comfortable, and the textiles that they put on their body are pleasant for them, if they can get a good night's sleep, if the housekeeping aide is kind to them when they come in the room, if the housekeeping aide follows their scripting, makes conversation, and communicates veteran to veteran. That's what's important, and that's what the veteran leaves our hospital knowing. So the EMS worker has the biggest role of customer service and fixing that veteran experience than anyone, I dare say, any employee in VHA. So with so many professionals and disciplines coming together, I know today's going to be super noteworthy. And again, I thank you for your participation, especially over a weekend. And I can't wait to see the 3D printed solutions that are coming up for EMS to fight COVID-19. So thank you again so much for having me.
Thank you, Vonda. And thank you for sharing, that incredible story. I had no idea there were 12,000 plus employees focused on this. That's absolutely amazing. And you start to think about how that compounds once you get outside of VA to, getting into the private sector, other federal agencies. The need for the kinds of solutions we're working on over this last week is just huge. So thank you so much for those comments. I really do appreciate it. So, so now what I'd like to do is I'm going to share a slide. What I'd like to do is just briefly introduce each of our judges. These are folks who are going to volunteer their time this afternoon to evaluate the projects. They're subject matter experts. We're incredibly honored and thrilled to have them on the program. And then at the end, of course, they will convene to discuss which of the projects they should award. And then we'll get to hear the results of that, of course, just afterward. So briefly to introduce them, we have Michael Kottman, who's an additive manufacturing R&D engineer for the ASTM International Additive Manufacturing Center of Excellence. Michael received his bachelor's and master's degrees in material science and engineering at Case Western Reserve University, which we all know is the home of the mighty Spartans. Go Spartans. Allison Ameren is the Director of Operations for the Veterans Health Administration Innovators Network. So Allison received her Master's of Public Health from the University of Kentucky and her Health Administration degree from Indiana University. So go Hoosiers, right? Hoosiers. So we also have Keith Weaver. Keith owns and operates a commercial janitorial company in Phoenix. He has a background in finance, marketing, and engineering. His work experience includes 22 years with Ingersoll Rand, where he supervised 2,000 employees in the US, Canada, and Mexico. So we're thrilled to have Keith with us here today as well. And we heard so much about Ben already. Ben is, of course, the program manager at the Department of Veteran Affairs with over 10 years in environmental management services, including 9 years as chief of EMS at a 1B level facility. So Ben is the graduate of uh, Chaminade. I don't know, I'm sure I'm not saying that correctly, University of Honolulu. And I had to look this up, but that's their mascot is the Silver Swords. And so I had to look up what a silver sword was, and it's a very rare endangered plant. It's absolutely beautiful. So what a great thing to have as your mascot. So we're really thrilled to have Ben here with us as well. Um, so just a few things before we dive into the first project so I can get everyone just a bit more background on exactly what it is these teams have been up to over the last week. Give you a little sense for those of you who haven't joined before on how this program's structured. And then I want to lay down a few ground rules for the presenters and also offer some guidance to the judges. So first of all, for the program format, so the way this works is that we reach out behind the scenes, the program facilitators, we spend weeks reaching out to folks who are on the front lines of COVID-19 doing tasks related to the program theme. So this last month, we spent all of our time reaching out to folks who are either supervising or engaged in housekeeping related work in hospitals, in hotels, in public transportation, in a variety of fields, folks who are taking care of office buildings. We reached out far and wide to solicit challenges that they're facing. And then we also recruit those individuals to join us to help guide the maker teams, the teams made up of engineers, designers, and others, in their work to develop and design an innovative solution to that particular challenge. So the program begins really for just about everybody outside the facilitators with a kickoff event. And so the kickoff event happened a little over a week ago. And that was the first time the teams got a chance to actually meet face to face or Zoom to Zoom for the first time. And they also got an opportunity to sit down and talk with the folks who had submitted the challenge. And so that got everything underway. We also had a wonderful presentation by Renee Poland with Balance Innovation and Design to walk all those teams through a design thinking workshop. And then over the course of the week, the teams have been working behind the scenes through Zoom, through other vehicles, through Quip, through Slack, through all these online tools to do a deep dive into the nature of the problem and begin to ideate a solution. Over the last 2 to 3 days, we've asked the teams to go one step further by actually taking their ideas and executing on them. And so we've asked them to take their ideas and actually build a working prototype solution that they can then present to you here in just a few minutes. I have to tell you, it's a huge undertaking, and these teams are absolutely amazing. And I think you'll see shortly, the amount of work that they have had to do to be able to get to this point is absolutely incredible. And as all of you, I'm sure, know, one of the big challenges we're facing right now is just getting access to materials. So we've really been working very hard behind the scenes to work through Amazon and all these other providers to try to make sure that the teams have what they need to be able to produce their prototype. So it really has been a mad scramble, but it's really exciting to witness these teams doing their work and to get to the point where they are. And I can't wait to see what they've come up with. I've seen little iterations along the way, and it's all been amazing. So I'm really excited to see the final product. Ground rules for moving forward. So the teams will be allowed 5 minutes to present their design and their prototype. All the teams have submitted slides to our team here at Challenge America. We've compiled all those into a single master slideshow. I'll be running those slides. So for the team members, when you're presenting, you can either hold up a card that says next slide, or you can say next slide and I'll advance the slide for you. So I'll control the slide share. If you go over your 5 minute period, We will allow some flexibility, but one of the team members, either Maggie or Rhonda, will jump in probably about the 6-minute mark, and we'll do a hard stop, at which point we'll open up the program to questions from the judges. Now, judges, there are a few ways that you can submit questions. One way is to submit your questions via chat. So as we're going along, if you have a question that comes to mind and you want to enter it into the chat feature is at the bottom of your screen. So if you just scroll your mouse down, you should see that pop up. So you can enter your question there, or you could raise your hand. So, and I believe you raise your hand by clicking the participant button, which is also at the bottom of your screen. And then that'll pull up a different menu on your right-hand side, and you should see raise hand over there. So you can raise your hand, and that will let the team know that they need to unmute you so that you can actually, introduce your question. For judges, please try to keep your questions brief. We allow about 3 minutes for questions and answers, so there's not a lot of time on that end. But if there are additional questions that you have, or other members who are of our audience who are watching want to ask questions of the teams as well, I certainly encourage you to use that chat function to enter your questions as we're going along, so that the teams can benefit from your insight and from your ideas. So that's generally the format of how this will go. Once we get to the last presentation, at the end of that presentation, the question and answer session, again, we will ask Rhonda to move all of the judges into a breakout room, so we won't be able to see them any longer on Zoom. But at that point, we'll ask our performer to come on and entertain us for 10 to 15 minutes while the judges confer, and then we'll have the judges rejoin us to announce the awards. So that's the general format. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the first team. So the first team is Team Can't Touch This. They just changed their name. It's great. And presenting for that team is Helen Little. So what I'll do here quickly is advance my slide, and then we'll share their screen. Helen, take it away.
All right. Apologies, are you supposed to be showing the slideshow right now?
I am. Is it not appearing?
No, I do not see it.
Okay, sorry guys, let me try that again. How about now?
Yes, I see it. Great, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Helen, and along with my teammates Mike, Jarek, Samantha, and Jacob, we are Team Can't Touch This. Next slide. Our challenge was to mitigate infection by making high-touch objects operable without direct contact. The user impact for such a solution would be such that housing staff can use objects like door handles, elevator buttons, light switches, and other things to do their jobs without fear of infection. And the overall impact would be to provide an equitable infection prevention tool that allows people to live their lives and do their jobs. Next slide. During the learning phase, we conducted many end-user interviews, and our high-level takeaways were that there are many environments where such a solution is needed. There is a wide variety of high-touch objects that vary from environment to environment. And then another thing we realized was that solutions are only as effective as how well people use them. If they don't use them correctly, then they aren't actually preventing infection. And then there was also a large range in the users for such a solution. So staff, customers, patients, even children. And then we approached this dichotomy of the type of solution we can have, which is one, an installed solution on the high-touch object itself, or a solution that an individual would carry around with them and use on multiple objects. And since there are so many different types of objects, we decided to go for that personal solution. Next slide. Looking at existing solutions, many of them were small, they had hooks and poking parts, and they're often like a keychain. And so from that, we decided on our design requirements. So we wanted to have a solution that enabled no-touch interaction with various objects. It had to be portable and wearable so that people can carry it very easily around with them in their everyday lives. And then these last two are what we thought our solution would be unique. It had to be sewable and deployable so that when not in use, it can be put away and you don't accidentally touch it. And also have it be self-sanitizing. Next slide. We then entered the design phase, and we identified 4 different areas of design, which were tool features, the sheath that the tool sits in, the sanitation method, and attachment methods for how it's carried. We did a round of brainstorming in Mural that looks like a bunch of Post-its, and then we did 2 rounds of sketches. And the final decisions that we came up with were for the tool features, we wanted some kind of hook and then a button pushing part, and overall have it be flat. For the sheath, we wanted it to be attached to the tool so it was all incorporated, and we wanted to use a sliding mechanism to deploy the tool, and then basically have the sheath be the handle for the tool. The sanitization method we chose was having some kind of sponge with sanitizing solution in it that touched the tool inside the sheath. And then attachment methods, we chose to have a keychain hole and some kind of belt clip so that people can carry this very easily. Next slide. So here's the final solution. If you can click that first video and play. This is a very simple, it slides out of the sheath and it's used to hook onto a door and open it. Next video. This is a more complicated one that acts more like a switchblade, so you only have to push a slider a slight bit and the hook and tool pops out. The prototyping process that we chose was we did 3D CAD, and then we would 3D print the prototype, test it, and then repeat that cycle. The raw cost per unit is about $6, and since it's an open source design, that cost comes from materials, labor, and equipment. Our target customers are individuals, but also groups who would want these tools in batches so they can supply them to staff and or customers. And the tool is entirely manufactured via 3D printing. Next slide. Moving forward, we want to continue iterating on the design, mostly improving tolerances and really toning it, getting that mechanism working very well, and then maybe exploring UV light for a higher fidelity solution. Next steps, we want to finalize the design and then gather documentation and publish the design to NIH's repository of prints. And then we'd also want to incorporate into PPE for the people, which is an effort that our group is doing in the Houston area to get PPE to essential workers. And once we're done, we'd love for people to share our design to end users and to other groups donating PPE. Next slide. Thank you, everyone. I guess we'll move on to questions then.
Great job, everybody. That's really exciting. So let's see here. Let's see if we have any questions yet from our judges. Judges, again, remember you can enter your question either in Slack or either in the chat feature, or you can raise your hand.
It looks like there's one question about the sanitization. So we chose to have a piece of sponge that goes inside the sheath, so that when the tool slides in and out of the sheath, it's passing past the sponge and it's wiping it.
Thank you.
Let's see. Is there a way to check the remaining sanitizing solution? So since it's a sponge, it would ideally hold some sanitizing solution, but over time would dry. So it would have to be refilled whenever the sponge gets dry. And the sponge is right next to the opening. Do you have a current sanitizing solution in the 2 designs presented? We don't. We didn't test out different sanitizing solutions, but we imagine it to be like multiple types. So you could have an alcohol-based one or maybe a bleach diluted in water solution. Is the sponge removable and can it be disinfected? Yes, we have some prototypes where the sponge can slide out or the sheath splits into two halves, and then you can remove the sponge for more long-term maintenance. What types of touch points was it designed to interact with? Doorknobs and handles were a big one for the hook part, and then any kind of buttons, so elevator buttons, equipment buttons, those things at a cash register where you need to poke the buttons there. Those were the main two types of operations, and switches. It's keychain based, yes. So we want to add like a little hole on it, so it can be attached to the keychain, but it will also have a belt loop, so it can have multiple attachment methods for whatever people prefer.
Great. Any other questions? Okay. Great job, team. Can't touch this. That's really exciting. I love the switchblade one too. That's kind of fun. So great job. We can't wait to see how this progresses and look forward to trying to get this out there and share this design with as many folks as we can. So next up, we have Team Clean Equipment. So I'll go ahead and share that slide, and your clock will begin right now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. This is Michael with Team Clean Equipment. We had Jason was our expert, myself, Tehran was an engineer, Shanek, and Eric was our mentor. Next slide. Our team challenge was decontaminating cleaning equipment. They had these individual carts that the housekeepers used to go into the rooms and clean, and our challenge was to find a way to keep those clean in between rooms so that you weren't then transferring germs between rooms and throughout, the different places that they go with the carts. So next slide. The big thing we learned was we documented the process to learn what was the most beneficial design. And that flow chart was very helpful to figure out, all the different processes and the way that they clean so that we could find the best solution to solve for. With the portable small carts, our solution needed to be portable and needed to be able to improve the turnaround time that currently was 24 hours so that they could make sure that the rooms were fully sanitized. So we looked at ways that we could improve that turnaround time. Next slide. The learn plays, again, just talking about the different opportunities that we have with the whole room disinfection, making it different ways to make the dirtiness visible so that it could be found. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. I guess there's some animations that aren't working quite right. There we go. Next slide. There we go. So we use some different voting tools to determine the direction of the project and project prioritization. Next slide. Next slide. Our solution was the rolling cart solution. We kind of came up with two solutions. Rolling cart, up in the top right there's that a puck with a UVC light inside, and that goes inside the cart and possibly, strips so that the light can get all the way down to the bottom. And it has some automation and sensors. So once the lid of the cart is closed, the light just automatically comes on, that UVC light turns on, sanitizes everything inside. So it's one less thing that the housekeepers need to clean on the way. I guess next slide, or there's another piece to that. The second solution was a bathroom sanitization light that was based on an Arduino, and Eric can talk to that real quick. So Eric.
Sure. So what you'll see here on the left side of the bathroom door solution has two different sensors. You have a motion light sensor and that switch, that's a wall switch, or that will go to turn on the light. And then there's a door switch. There's many variants, but it'll have some internal logic that says if the door is closed, the lights are off, and there's no movement, then you'll disinfect and turn on the UVC lights for the necessary time in order to disinfect the bathrooms. And then it'll cut off its cycle.
Thank you, Eric. Next slide. Moving forward, the next step would be to expand on that Arduino solution to involve full room cleaning, whether that's an extra set of lights or changing the lights in there so they had two spectrums, you know, the visible light and then this UVC that could sanitize the whole room. And we would look at ways to tie into existing technologies. Our expert mentioned that they had some ability to control the temperature in the room remotely. So maybe a way to tie into that. So, you know, they would know if no one was in the room, they could turn them on. If they were unoccupied for multiple days, they could make sure that they weren't unnecessarily sanitizing the rooms for just cost savings in that sense, and then be able to monitor, you
30
know,
seconds.
how sanitized they are throughout, you know, all the time.
Next.
Next slide. And Eric, do you want to talk about that solution?
I know we're out of time, but our stakeholder really wanted some process design to help his staff use PPE appropriately. So we can answer that maybe in the questions next, and we're done. Any questions?
Great job, you guys. That was excellent.
Thank you.
The one thing I was going to mention is our stakeholder wanted the rooms cleaned and disinfected to make it quicker and better and more reliable. But I know the challenge was for equipment going between rooms. So what wasn't mentioned in the process flow is that the janitorial service, the folks can come in, they can put the cart, take the supplies off the cart they need, close it, put it in the bathroom, close the bathroom door, start that timer for cleaning while they clean the guest room. By the time they get to the bathroom will have been disinfected, as well as the equipment cart.
So we're getting one question coming in. What type of log reduction is the UVC light providing, and at what time frames?
When we looked at some off-the-shelf lights, we're looking at, and it kind of depends on how we want to implement. So within the case, within the rolling cart, because the lights will be so close, you're looking at, you can have like 10 seconds. In the bathrooms, if you had more lights, you could increase intensity and have time. We think off the shelf lights, we're looking at an hour, which is still an improvement because our customer was looking at a 24-hour turnaround. They wanted to leave the room unoccupied, so this that would be one way for it to do it. So that's the logic part of it, is if to tie into their environmental management software.
Thank you. And do you have a cost estimate for this solution?
When we looked at, we saw some 60-watt bulbs that we're looking at $12 to $15 per bulb, and we've seen some solutions that could fit all right into pucks that can be mounted right into the ceiling. So there's more to kind of, we're not quite at a cost stage, but because we might be able to use a manufacturer like Lutron and see if we can customize the switches they already have. If we had to build it ourselves, and there's manufacturing costs that I can't speak to.
Okay. How long would the lights take to put up and take down, assuming they aren't on all the time?
So they would be installed and they would stay in the room the entire time. So it'd be another set of like can lights or recess lights, or you could even do track lights. So they'd always be there, but they would only be on when the logic of the sensor says that it's safe and we don't have humans in there.
Okay. And I think this will probably be the last question, but that kind of feeds into another question from Ilya, which is, are there concerns about levels of ozone UV lights produced?
Not what we saw was that it's ozone is considered an actual a beneficial aspect, because that would clean the air. So it's used for a couple different reasons, for water, air, and surface decontamination. And I don't think there would be a risk because it's not going to be on all the time. So that's what the sensors will say, like, we'll do the minimum needed to disinfect the surfaces. There are some products that advertise staying on all the time. That's not what we were interested in. We were just interested in surface decontamination of like the kitchenette and the bathrooms.
Okay. And then just, I'm sorry, getting one last question in from Allison. How often and how would you check for cleanliness to make sure the lights are working?
So they have one, you could do cultures if you needed to do some type of audit. They also have there's off the shelf intensity sensors, so you can see how much you can measure literally or explicitly how much UV light is hitting the surface, and so you just do a standard measure of that. And
Okay.
if anyone is interested, we did find all the research that shows the efficacy of UVC in killing COVID, and how much energy is needed in what wavelength and all that stuff. So we can talk more of that if you want to know.
Okay. Great job, you guys. This was a challenging one for sure. So thank you so much. It's a really exciting solution.
Thanks.
Actually, multiple solutions. So great job. So moving on to our next team. The next team is Team Rona Busters. And leading the discussion for that team is Ilya Gottfried. So I'll go ahead and screen share now. So Ilya, if you're ready.
Jane was our developer. Jian did product research and helped us in that area. And then I led the team, and Fred was our advisor. So next slide, please. So our team challenge, so we got to talk to EMS team, and over here a few other conversations and a few other references to the projects. And so the team challenge was COVID environment, frequency of so the frequency of care for high-touch services had increased dramatically with appearance of COVID-19 from once a shift to up to 30 once every 30 minutes. As staffing challenges in EMS positions remain the problem, and with new incoming pandemic, they became even worse. Budgeting for the right size EMS team is a problem because when the time of a budget comes, there isn't really any necessarily good data acquired throughout the particular period to substantiate certain amount of people to be on the team, on the EMS team, to actually support the need. And then there's also there's a desire to be able to actually perform deeper cleaning in the areas when there is a lower occupancy of that area, so that people are out of the way. So we needed to hand actionable real-time information to EMS staff on the ground to prioritize the work and the personnel utilization accordingly. That was our challenge. Next slide, please. So learning phase. So we have gone and learned the elements that I mentioned before with the customer. We have identified the issues with staffing, the issues with actually covering the area, the high touch area cleaning throughout the day, being able to, as opposed to just performing routine cleaning, to actually be able to know where the cleaning needed to be done. And so we've gone through that process and identify a few of those elements that were essentially fed into our product. The existing solutions, so we went out and looked at the existing solutions in the market, and that actually resulted in us pivoting on how we ended up solving the problem. So we ended up hitting up a couple of providers of existing solutions of sensors that provided personnel counting, or rather not personnel counting, but the counting of people occupying particular areas and number of people entering and leaving the areas. And so we have found a couple of technology companies, one here in Canton, Ohio, the other one in San Francisco, originally born out of Syracuse. Both of them had sensors available to deploy throughout any size of facilities. They both had analytics clouds and they had APIs. The variance really came to the fact that Density.io was considerably more communicative with us, and they had sample data that we could work with to build proof of concept. And they were communicating abundantly. And Dallas and Danielle, thank you for throwing your weight behind it to help the communication process there. It was great. And then, so pros, they had ready to deploy at necessary volumes for large installations like VA facility. So they literally have facilities of sizes similar to a hospital where they have sensors throughout the facility. They have real-time, highly reliable data acquisition. They have a clean, exhaustive data set defined through market interaction and API based on market needs. So they have actually tried it in the field for quite a few years. So they ran it down and have a lot of very valuable data that we could pull from. And already have ready-made analytics that we could use to satisfy part of the customer need. So the cons, while data acquired is real-time, it is not presented in this simple, actionable form to boots on the ground. Next slide, please. So design phase, as you would see the sensor on the right there, that's kind of the product as it is deployed on the customer side. So at the same time, so we took a look at rolling our own solution, built traffic acquisition sensor based on OpenCI. So there are technologies that exist out there that have very reasonable cost for prototyping, and they have quite exhaustive amount of well-documented examples. The con of it was essentially within a short time actually acquire reasonable, meaningful data that we could then take in real time to individuals on the ground. It was way too long of a road, and what was not quite as practical. So we decided to go after extending third-party solution. So the trick there was to find the best third-party solution that we could work with in a short period of time, and that could actually cover a facility like VA. So pros, we have closer to the problem at hand, definitely, potentially deployable in a short period of time. They have experience of deploying their product, obviously. That's how they stay in business. Let's go to the next slide. So the solution was, we have taken the third-party solution, we have reviewed the existing analytics to see how well it fits, and found the gap between what we needed and what they were able to provide. We found that they actually provide 90-day depth of analytics that could be used to provide adequate staffing, and the adequate staffing could be extrapolated. So we zeroed in on creating an application that actually provides the information to staff on the ground. So if you could please go to the next slide, since we're running out of time here. And it went sideways. Okay, so as you see on the side, if you were to scan the barcode here, you would actually see this Rona Busters application on your phone as it is deployed right now. It is feeding from a real sample data of the analytics platform that you're seeing in front of you. And we have a play-by-play of how this thing played out, and how you actually track this. You go on the floor, you see that the floor needs to be cleaned. You say, I started cleaning this floor, so other people know that not to clean that area. And then once you're done with it, it disappears from the list and it resets. After a certain period of time passes, it will appear on the list again. So on that note, next slide, please. Real quick, this basically is going to be an add-on to a wonderful existing solution, and it could be built, the first prototype of it could be built within the period of time that it is required to deploy such a product. It is a relatively short period to build it fully. And we're done. So next slide, please. Oh, sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry. Great job. That's amazing. So So let's go ahead and turn to some of the questions here. So it looks like the first one coming in: to clarify, this concept measures high traffic areas that may require additional frequency cleaning schedule. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the idea is to not only pay attention to high frequency areas, but also potentially allow balanced staff in real time, to where you, for example, you would call staff to the other side of the building if there's higher traffic area that needs to be sanitized, rather than just going 30 minutes for every spot. You prioritize the spot so that you can either work with existing staff or clearly require higher staff going forward. So it is kind of a mix of that.
Okay. Got another question here. What data is saved and for how long? And how is the data accessed and who would have access?
Yes, so the data itself, the analytics platform is well protected, and it's is industry standard and secure. The idea within the application is that it's going to be secured and will allow individuals to log in that need to see that data. And it would subdivide data for people that need to see particular areas. It would be available for them. The beautiful part of the platform itself that we're using, Density.io, is that their cameras are not cameras. They are actually depth sensors that know how to detect humans. So there is no personal identifiable information for individuals passing under. So it preserves perfect privacy, even if a sensor is hacked into, which it should not be.
Okay.
So the cost of this,
I'm sorry. Another question quickly. Do you have a cost estimate for the sensors?
Yes, I believe the cost of the sensors was a bit above $700 for the sensor. The bigger ongoing cost there is actually cost of the cloud service. So it is about, I try to remember if it's the same amount per sensor for yearly for cloud service.
Okay. And then you showed that image of what looked like a smartphone on one of the slides. So we're all assuming there's an app that you can actually view from a smartphone. So even if you're an EMS supervisor in a meeting, you could still see what's going on. Is that correct?
Precisely, yes. So they have their own dashboards that go on the smartphone. What we were trying to do there is overlay the actual video. So if you were to scan QR code, you would actually be able to see it on your smartphone and play through that application.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's web-based, so it is it's platform independent.
Okay. And then one last question: how many licenses would be available per year on iPhone and Android, or is it just one platform that it works with right now?
So it is possible to build this platform on the web, so it could go on any one of the devices. And at this point, we don't have a plan in mind for what the data would cost. So it would take a little bit of time to actually evaluate what would be meaningful cost for it. But it's the deal is that majority of the data is actually carried by the Density.io, and so the augmentation, the metadata that we would attach to it is not nearly as heavy, so it would not be as costly to actually keep.
Okay. Well, once again, you've blown my doors off, Ilya. Thank you so much, and your entire team. That's absolutely amazing.
They did an awesome job. Yep.
Thank you. So coming up next, and I apologize if I mess up these names. I'll do the very best I can. But coming up next, we have Team Bus Decon, and presenting for Team Bus Decon, we have Dr. Anthony Saenz and Wilfredo Maldonado. Hopefully I got that right. Those are tricky ones for me, but and we'll go ahead and turn on the screen share.
You did great there, Dallas. I appreciate the introduction. My name is, as Dallas said, my name is Freddie Maldonado for short. I am a member of the bus decontaminating team. The members include DeAndre Wells, Blake Schultz, Denise Bacon, Corinne Bolger, Dr. Anthony Saenz, and Suzanne Sienkiewicz. Appropriately, I just wanted to, take a minute and just say thank you to everyone in the Challenge America team for giving us this opportunity. We'd also like to express our deepest appreciation and gratitude to Blake Schultz, who was our mentor for this project, and Mark Levy. They did a fantastic job in schooling us and giving us all the details that we were actually looking for. It was a little difficult for us because we were initially in the previous challenge where we were responsible for decontaminating the cabin of an ambulance. And the device that we came up with, we refer to as an AmbuScanner. It just so happened that because we were given the bus decontamination task, the bus actually fits in our title. Who knew? That was just a weird coincidence, but it worked for us and we're gonna make it work. So next slide, Dallas, please. So my apologies in the beginning if I'm reading along, but I'm also going to ask you to kind of read along with me. The team challenge was basically to decontaminate the bus. It took several days for us to kind of be honest with ourselves and speak to Blake Schultz and to Mark and really kind of pick their brains with respect to their experiences and what they go through every day doing the job. And Blake did a great job in providing us a PowerPoint that we unfortunately couldn't share because of time. But it lists his daily steps along with his team and the responsibilities that they have. Much more important, the risk that they're currently taking in decontaminating and messing around with these dangerous chemicals and devices. So as Blake mentioned to us, they're currently the team challenge with the risk of both airborne and tough surface COVID-19 transmission in buses. The vehicles need decontaminating during and between trips to reduce passenger and operator maintenance crew risk. Current protocol is that they're currently using chemicals to disinfect agents and disinfecting agents that have a lot of downsides with respect to not just obviously the health, but the buildup of residue in these vehicles. So that's one thing that Blake kind of emphasized on. It's not that these devices, the foggers and the misters and the electrostatic guns that they're currently using aren't good. They're doing what they're supposed to do, under the circumstances that we're all under. But there's a inherent danger in messing with these chemicals, and obviously it's not only to the workers, but it stays on the vehicles and it could be transferred to the end user. So the toxic exposure risk for operators and passengers and maintenance crews is pretty high and demands attention. So one of the things that we did was, again, allow Blake to kind of give us his suggestions. So that way, again, we weren't imposing our previous device on them. And we spent 2 days deliberating, chemicals and devices. And so Blake actually just said, have we looked into UVC? Next slide, Dallas, please. It was then that we learned what we needed to learn was that, UVC offered the right solution to this, ongoing issue that we had. So what we learned was the end user was that the current protocol is not a long-term solution. So, my personal problem with this is this. What happens in a year and a half when we develop a vaccine and everyone's walking around cured with no worry about COVID? What happens to these individuals that have been exposed to these chemicals and doing the right thing for us, and now we're just leaving them and with no worry? That's kind of like, that's a no-go for me. Again, they're doing their best for us now. Why are we gonna, forget about them later on? So that's one of the reasons and one of the benefits to using UVC technology. One of the hurdles that we were, speaking with Blake with regards to the current policies or procedures that they're using is the toxicity and the lack of sanitation. So next slide, Dallas. So basically what we did was we adapted our device, the AmbuScan, to fit the buses. On the far left-hand side, you're gonna see a kind of like I don't know if you can make that any bigger. I suppose you can't, but that is basically the hand drawing of the concept of the inside of the ballast. The center picture is actually a CAD drawing of where our electrical wire would fit and go through the ballast, through the center of the ballast. And on the far right, you see basically, which is another, an extension that'll go to the other side of the ballast that will control the other wheel as well. Next slide, Dallas, please. So basically, this is our prototype. It's currently right there on your right-hand side. It is attached inside a bus. It's basically put together, configured parts that I picked up in a hardware store, to tell you the truth. I think what I did was I wasted a total of $45 in pieces, and I was able to get the UVC or the prototype built. Obviously, in this case, I was not able to use a legitimate UVC bulb, but the idea is that the device is going to basically, the size of it is going to depend on the size of the bus. So we're going to make the adjustments necessary to fit the bus or the ambulance or whatever other device or location we decide to put this in. But basically, Dallas, if you can go ahead and click play.
Freddie, you're out of time. If you can wrap up on moving forward, but
Yeah, if you can hit the play, Dallas, that'll be it. And I think we'll just leave it at that. You just,
Sorry, it's not playing for some reason. I apologize.
if you go back and just hover over the picture,
Okay.
it should give you like a play on the bottom of that.
Shoot. Let's see. Let's try one more. No, let's see. No, I'm sorry. It just wasn't playing. I apologize.
Well, in the video, the actual UV bulb is deployed from the ballast and it goes all the way down to the floor. And actually, I have the real prototype here. I have it working. And as you can see, it'll actually deploy from the ballast, which will go all the way down to the floor, decontaminating the environment from the floor all the way to the ceiling. Bulb is 65 watts. It'll have an 8x8 kill zone and about over 90% kill rate. Any questions?
Great job. Thank you so much. So that's a really exciting adaptation of what you did in the last program. I'm so excited that you guys were able to find a new way to utilize that technology. So that's incredible. Let me scroll down to see. Oh, here's a question. Is a 90% kill rate high enough?
You know, it's actually, you know, we haven't vetted it yet. The idea is that once we get the UVC bulbs and we can run the proper test along, you know, as the gentleman and I believe the second challenge stated, we're currently, you know, getting the sensors and the strips that we need to make sure that we can test it and that it decontaminate. The overall goal is that it's over 90%. But I'm just kind of playing safe right now and just saying that right now the standard is that if it does at least 90 to 92%, we should be good.
Okay. Here's another question coming from Michael. How long of an exposure is needed, and is it safe for the driver to be present while it disinfects?
No, it's never safe for anyone to be present when any type of UVC is ongoing. I mean, unless really you're just holding the hand one, and that's, you know, that's on a different level. That's a different wattage. In this case, these bulbs are intended to run at 65 watt. The idea is that, you know, either the bus driver or EMT, once they deploy, they push the button. It's going to give them 30 seconds to exit the vehicle. The bulb is going to go down all the way about 1.5 feet off the ground, right underneath the seats. And then it's going to turn on and start decontaminating. And with the Arduino motors that we have on the left and right hand side, they're actually going to be coiled up. And I wish the video showed that. It's actually very smooth. It goes up all the way back to its ballast and it'll turn off. So the idea, again, from the bottom to the top, 10 to 12 minutes, the whole vehicle is decontaminated. You don't have to worry about any follow-up cleaning crew, any decontaminants, anyone being in danger, because again, we're using LED lights that emits UVC, but we're also having the traditional mercury bulb. That's the one that's deploying down. That's most effective in decontaminating.
Okay. So I know you said the idea is to make this adapt to different size buses, but we have a question about, you know, in a standard, you know, regional bus, for example, passenger bus, how many bulbs do you think you would need for a bus of that size?
Well, the bus that I had this hanging on that we were gonna try to play the video on was a senior citizens bus, you know, so that had about a seat capacity of 20. And I think with 2 of these devices, we would have covered the whole distance of the bus. Now, when you're talking about a 40-foot bus or, you know, a traditional school bus or a Greyhound bus, you know, those things are gonna vary because of the escape hatches. But the idea is that we fit as many as we can, again, using the right bulb voltage and, you know, just to make it smart, and that it at no point whatsoever be activated while anyone's in there to potentially cause anyone any harm.
Okay, and then we have one more question about how these would be powered. So would you have to connect to shore power, or could it be battery powered?
We're currently looking into how we can supply the battery power. That is an option that we do have and that we're currently seeking. The idea is that, yeah, it's going to be plugged in. You know, overall, these buses are taken to, you know, kind of like a station and parked for the night. The idea is that, you know, they get plugged in, put up, and if they're already established and put up, you know, it's just a matter of connecting, walking out, and, you know, letting it do its job, and then coming back and disconnecting and, you know, coiling the AC plug. We're thinking about having it a retractable where it'll go back into the ballast body and be hidden from anyone.
Okay. And then just one last question, because I know we're running out of time. Were there any obstacles considered with regards to blind spots? So how do you overcome those hard to reach areas?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question. Blind spots are one of our biggest concerns. I don't know if you noticed, 3 of our team members are scientists, and that's something that they keep us honest on. The idea is that eventually we will have, I'm thinking version 2 will have a sensor so that it can map the room and actually do mathematical, you know, calculations to where
Wow.
it'll actually be able to go up and figure out, okay, I need to focus here a little bit more, maybe extend the amount of time it's focused and at a certain level, maybe even pivot. And we're also including a shader that's maybe going to focus some of the, you know, the beam somewhere else. But the idea is that, again, as many bulbs that they alternate and they complement each other, maximum time, and again, maximum exposure.
Well, that's exciting. Congratulations to you and the team. I'm excited to see this move forward. So, and I think we all are too. So great job, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate everyone.
Thank you. So now moving on to the next team. This is Team Off the Rails, and speaking for the team is Emily Zaba. So let me go ahead and share the screen here. Okay, take it away.
Thanks, Dallas. So hi, everybody. My name's Emily, and we are Team Off the Rails, and my whole team is listed here. Next slide, please. There's no doubt that COVID-19 has changed everyone's lives, but it has especially impacted our housekeepers. Housekeepers at the Reno Veterans Affairs Hospital have been tasked with disinfecting high-touch surfaces, including chairs, restrooms, elevators, and hand railings, 16 times more frequently than the pre-COVID world. In VA hospitals, as well as other institutions, including schools and nursing homes, hand railings are present throughout the entire facility, and disinfecting them can be very time-intensive and ineffective with a cloth rag. And to alleviate this, Team Off the Rails sought to develop a way to effectively clean hand railings. Next slide. So there were several parameters that we needed to consider when creating, which and maintenance requiring minimal to no user input. The Reno VA uses a chemical agent, which called the COVID buster, to clean high traffic areas, including these hand railings. And this chemical is sprayed everywhere. However, the COVID buster is a bit limited in that it requires 2 to 3 minutes to dry, and it has to be sprayed manually to capture all the surfaces. Rather than pursuing a solution which requires chemicals, we use edge technology. Next slide. Our team entertained any idea approved for COVID-19 particles. Our initial designs into a robotic solution which could mount on hand railings with a snake-like shape. And we sought to configure into a device to meet all of the aforementioned design parameters. Next slide. And if you could also well, thanks. proudly presents. The Glocomotive is an automated device which disinfects hand railings. This device represents a repeatable, continuous, and low-maintenance solution to the more frequent disinfection due to COVID-19. The device has been designed to comply with ADA hand railings as well. This device has 12 LED and is operated with rechargeable by one motor. The device also has flexible loops along the bottom, which keeps the Glocomotive anchored to the hand railing to prevent theft. And then those loops swing back when the Glocomotive rolls past a bracket attached to the wall. The Glocomotive can be created in any color, but we were suggesting bright yellow so that people notice it, perhaps with a label requesting that passerbys don't touch the device. Glocomotive visually in any environment. Next slide.
Emily, you're breaking up just a little bit. We can't really hear you at the moment. Is there somebody maybe from the team who can jump in and help out?
Close to the device.
Emily, are you reconnected?
I'm still on. Can you hear me?
Now.
Okay. So like I said, any potential speaks that the device is in use and sanitizing as well. There's also a sensor which stops the device if a person or an object is too close to the device and interference from those using the hand railing for support. With LED, Glocomotive can be easily modeled 400 term cost and expend items. Upfront investment, it does allow housekeepers to shift their focus on high traffic areas and not worry about hand railings. Over time, the Glocomotive demonstrates a return on investment. Next slide. Over the past week, we sought to develop a proof of concept model. The need for the Glocomotive is to perform some testing in the VA hospital, evaluating reactions and the most exciting part of this design is the opportunity
Again.
I apologize. Emily seems to be cutting out. Nearing the end of her script, the most exciting part of the design is the opportunity for expandability. The intent for future iterations is to offer additional features, modular ideas, networking, able to traverse corners, gaps, network integration, data analytics, to be able to integrate, like some of the previous ideas have mentioned, being able to accumulate data on what's been cleaned, send it back, traffic data, things of that nature. Especially moving forward into post-COVID-19, as we talked about earlier, having this tackled, there's going to be something else later on in the future, but the intent behind this automation is to standard eliminate a certain task from high traffic areas so that individual workers could focus on the rest of their tasks. I believe that's the last slide. Hopefully, Emily, you'll be able to hop back in here.
Should I go ahead with the next slide?
I believe that's the last slide. The last one is just the thank you slide.
Okay.
Open for questions, things of that nature. The future of it moving forward, docking stations, it should be self-sustaining, independent, as minimal interaction from humans as possible. It just, you set it down, you go. Possible battery changes later on with expandability into longer lifespans out of each of the batteries. We're looking at, 3 to 4 years for each replaceable component, as opposed to adding in expendable things like chemicals, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. And I'm so sorry about the connectivity issues, you guys. This is the brave new world we live in. So these things happen. So thanks for bearing with us.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Emily's an amazing speaker, and I'm kind of disappointed she's not at the front line of this, but she has our idea down pat.
Well, let me jump into the questions if I can. Here's the first question. How often would it run, and how would you keep people from touching it?
Well, potentially, we've tried to tackle a few different ideas on this thing, because it was initially part of our design phase being a part of a larger system, as in modular ideas that had handrails, it had wands, it had self-cleaning robots, think Roomba type thing, that are all network and integrated. So they would be a combination of low profile, warning labels on them, for example, like it being bright yellow, having tram stops type things on them, bump stops, so if something was in the way, the hand always comes priority over the movement of the tram. Also having, nondescript features of it, like I said, low profile, and securely mounted, basically. But just ideally, to be able to contact every surface every half hour, it would be a continually running thing, generally geared toward being a half-hour cleaning method with at least a full day's worth on a single charge. That way it never has to be interrupted. It never has to be moved.
Okay. And then to build off of a previous question, do these robots, they move quite slowly, and the rail gap would only be 18 inches at most. So I guess that's sort of a response to that question. I apologize. I'm trying to read this stuff as I go.
Oh, you're fine. We had actually a lot of those things in general, like as far as traversing gaps. What we did initially was to start off with the extremely high traffic areas, handrails and stairwells and things of that nature that are continuous. And then prioritizing those based on the level of use. And as I looked around our VA hospital, single rails always took higher priority as opposed to the smaller rails. So it would be a modular item that you could either purchase one of them for a single rail system or additional ones depending on how your needs came to be. It would not initially traverse them because that brings up too many problems as far as, safety hazards. Somebody walking through while this torpedo is jumping across is not going to be a good idea. But individually mounted to them, so we try to keep the price points on them to repeatability instead of a single use for the whole thing.
Okay. And then here's a question about would this most likely be deployed during the night versus the day when patients are mostly likely to utilize handrails during the day? So, or would it just run all the time?
It would priority would be, like I said, the hands before the handrail. So it would be continually operating to continually take down the threat that's available, but prioritize at nighttime when it could just do its job unimpeded. But the absolute second priority would be that it could happen while somebody's there, and it'd be low profile enough that if you're holding onto the handrail, it's not going to come anywhere near you. So it could operate, maybe not at 100%, but still helping along the whole way.
So I think, unfortunately, we're running out of time. I would encourage you all, you can use the chat feature if you want. You can specifically chat, you can chat specific individuals in the chat feature. So if you want to keep this conversation going, if you have additional questions you want to ask this team off the rails or any of the other teams that have presented so far, please feel free to use that feature to keep the conversation going. We want to encourage you to help these teams think through some of these challenges and try to advance these amazing prototypes. So thank you guys so much. Great job. And again, I'm so sorry about the technology glitches.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. So coming up next is, what do we have here? We've got Team COVID-19 Communication Curriculum. And presenting on behalf of this team is Andy Matovsky. So I'll go ahead and pull up your slide and your time begins. Andy, are you on?
I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Not seeing your slides yet. Could you try again to get the slides up?
Yep. Sorry about that.
All good.
Let's try again. Are you able to
There
see
we
it
go.
now? Okay. Sorry about that.
Oh, good. So one thing, could you go to the next slide? One thing that we learned from our end users is that no one really chooses to become a housekeeper. They kind of just end up in housekeeping. And housekeeping is a difficult job. It's physically demanding. It takes a lot of effort. There's a lot of work to do. And now we've got COVID-19, so all these other stresses have added on to the situation. And housekeepers feel unprepared, and they might be afraid to raise their concerns or talk to their coworkers or their supervisor who could help them out. We identified one of the big unmet needs is this lack of training in how to do this communication. And so what we did, our solution was to write a training curriculum for them. So next slide, please. Our original task was to find a way to track which surfaces have and have not been cleaned. And it turned out the VA actually did pretty good of this. There was an elaborate system, if imperfect. We had a chance to talk to Rick Rooker and Bruce Patton, who were director of EMS and assistant director in Tacoma, Washington, and we talked to them about their current training procedures. So right now, they, if you get a new housekeeper, they give them a 230-page document to read. They have them watch a stack of 30 videos. They then have them shadow another experienced housekeeper. Next slide, please. And there's some things that this is really good at. The shadowing a new housekeeper, shadowing an experienced housekeeper is a great idea. The training that they have stresses the importance of the housekeeper's job, and it really is an important job. And they have this like encyclopedic coverage of the cleaning protocols, how to clean a bed, how to clean a window, or what have you. We saw some areas for improvement. The training has no assessment. They don't know if somebody pays attention to the videos or not. It's not very interactive. It says communication is important, but they don't really explain how you're supposed to communicate. And it uses terms like EPA and CDC, which we might know what it means, but a lot of housekeepers are new to this country and they might not be familiar with these. Next slide, please. With these terms. And at the VA, they had some additional challenges. Some of those challenges were things like a lack of housekeepers, the no assessment of the training. There was a problem with communication between housekeepers and the clinical staff when they're really on the same side and can help each other out. And our team's conclusion was communication's really vital and it's something that can be learned. Next slide, please. And our solution was to come up with a set of training modules. These aren't really specific to housekeepers. They'd work just as well for maintenance workers. And it's not even specific for the VA hospital, although that was the end user we had a chance to talk to. They would work just as well for hotel rooms or schools or what have you. We've come up with a web-based platform. It's got some little interactive quizzes in there, and it's got some additional assessments and discussion topics. Next slide, please. And our module is actually live on the web. It's composed of 4 parts. The first part is called Safe Communication. This is kind of based on an OSHA training module that we found. And it's how do you communicate about health or safety concerns. You can kind of break that up into S for see the problem, A for ask, F for find a solution, E for emphasize positives. The next component of our, the next lesson of our module is 6 US government agencies every worker should know about. And the idea here is that maybe you've got somebody new to the US who might be familiar with the European Union or other standards, and now they're a housekeeper in the US. Can we get them familiar? Or maybe you've got somebody who just hasn't had to interact with CDC or EPA, and now they're supervisor says this is an EPA approved disinfectant. Well, if we can explain to them that how important that is and how there's government scientists backing that up, then they can become more confident. The next is a kind of printable frequently asked questions that can be used as a starting point for discussing with starting a discussion, and so they can print that out and start reading questions from it to start discussing with their supervisor. And we've got some case studies which are really best as like a discussion topic for new housekeepers. Dallas, what I want you to do now is actually click on the link so you can actually see our site. Is that possible? Perfect. And so our site's live on the web. Oh, nope. Or if you could cut and paste that link, that would work too. Yep.
Is that it? No.
That's not the live one.
Okay.
Plan B is we've got screenshots of it, but it's actually live. So if that doesn't work, we'll go to plan B, which is just keep going to the screenshots. But could you give it one more try?
Yeah.
No.
Sorry. Technology is not my friend.
If not, that's okay. Plan B is we've got some screenshots on the back. So could you go back to the slide and just scroll down a few? Keep going. a few slides after the
Yep.
thank you. Next slide, a few times. Next slide, next slide, next slide, next slide. This is one of our screenshots, previous slide. We've got some screenshots here. This is a screenshot, although as I said, it's live on the web, of one of our modules. And this is the safe communication one. And you can see there's text and there's more than you see in the screenshot, as well as the assessments. Next slide. This is the part of the U.S. agencies every worker should know, and there's like fun facts in there to make it more interesting. It's written at a level for people who aren't very familiar with English. Next slide. This is the printable pamphlet, and as I said, all of this is on the web, and there's some interactive quizzes there. Next slide. And this is some of the case studies. So while we can't solve all of the housekeepers' fears and challenges, and there's going to be new ones coming along, COVID-19 came along in a month and we had to worry about it, we really can give them some tools to work with each other, and that's what this training is for. So we'll take questions now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry I couldn't get that website to work. And so everyone understands, including the judges, these teams really are working right up until the last second oftentimes. And so they're putting together their presentation. So it's not their fault that that didn't work. It's just the nature of the beast. This is a very compressed time frame to do so much incredible
Oh, Zubin
work,
just put
so.
it in the comments. So if anyone wants to click on the site, he's got the link there, so you can just follow it.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll go ahead and start taking questions from our judges. And I know we already have one comment from one of the judges. Great job for educating our valuable EMS personnel. So, you know, and that's from Ben. And so that's great work, you guys. That's incredible. Here's one from Allison. How is it different than other trainings required by organizations? And what was the feedback on the solution from the Tacoma VA folks?
So we got a chance, and the Tacoma VA sent us their training procedures, and some stuff they do really, really well, like they, you know, the detailed procedures of how to clean different areas, the communicating, how important the job is, but there really wasn't something breaking down communication or giving tools for communication. We did try to search on the web for other training. There was, the EPA had some training, and again, it was more specific on how to use PPE or how to use, how to give feedback. The closest thing we found was how to give feedback to workers training from the, I think that was the CDC. One of the cleaning professional societies gave some, had some training, but again, it was more specific on how to use various disinfectants or PPE. So we did do some searching. We did get some feedback from the Tacoma VA, and we asked them, do you train on how to communicate? And they said no. And so they seemed very open to this idea.
Great. And hopefully everyone can see the screen. I'm trying to share your live web page.
Oh, yeah, we got our live website here. And yeah,
Great.
you can just click around it wherever
Okay.
if you want.
Sorry, I'm going to stop screen share now. Just I can't read the chat and, and do that too. I'm not that talented, unfortunately.
We do not know of this being deployed. Somebody asked, is this being deployed at a local VA right now? No, we just put it on the web yesterday or so. So, but anyone can access it.
Okay. Any other questions any of the judges would like to pose? Well, I can just tell you, I mean, from my standpoint, one of the exciting things about doing things from our view, and we talked about this earlier, is just the opportunity to speak with so many people who are trying to overcome these challenges. And I know that there's a huge, every single person I talked to said, we need help to train, you know, these folks on how to deal with this and the new protocols. So here's another one. Is this based on existing content, or was it all newly developed?
Mostly newly developed. That safe communication thing was roughly based on an OSHA teacher's guide, but we developed the content because that had a different audience in mind. That was for high schoolers just entering the workforce, not housekeepers. So we actually did a lot of redevelopment. The one on U.S. agencies that everyone should know. A lot of that is like fun facts as well as mission statements from the agencies. So that one's actually pretty short. So it's not a lot of stuff we wrote, but it's a lot of stuff that we tried to filter down to get to that people would find useful. And the question list was something that we put together, brainstorming as a team, and the case studies we put together, trying to envision not necessarily COVID-19 specific situations, but situations that where there was communication and where communication could solve the problem. The case studies are all ours.
Okay.
We don't have a certificate that you can print right now, but that's a good idea. I like that one.
Or some kind of incentive, right?
We do have some little self quizzes right now that'll tell you if you, at least for the multiple choice part, whether or not you get it right. The case studies are probably best as discussion topics or essays.
Okay. Okay, well, great job, you guys. That's excellent. I'm so excited. I think that's a huge undertaking. So again, I mean, everyone I talked to said they need this kind of support. So thank you so much. Great job. Okay, so give me just a second here to reconfigure a little bit. Okay, so, all right. So next up, we have Team COVID Detectors. And speaking for Team COVID Detectors is James Foley. So I'll start their slide share now. James, take it away.
All right. Thank you very much. We'd like to thank those who joined our team. We are COVID Decoders. I'd like to thank our mentor, Grant, Hensley, our customer, and the team from Botanisol, Jensen, Dave, Zach, and Wesley. Next slide, please. Our challenge was trying to make something safe and get it into the hotels and hospitals on how we can detect COVID. And we needed to make it simple enough that it can be used by the staff at a hotel or at a hospital. And we needed 3 parts to this. Yes, we had to do the detection. We also wanted to ensure that the rooms and the spaces were cleaned. And we also needed a way to communicate. When we talk to the customer, it's the idea of customers feeling safe in their rooms. And so just the fact that we can detect it, if we can't communicate out to the customers, we're not going to get guests in the hotel. We're not going to make people feel comfortable when they go to the VAs. So clean, inspect, and communicate is our key. Next slide. So during our learn phase, we learned that hotels are taking extraordinary care to make their rooms safe and deliver to the hotel guests. There currently, from a hurdle perspective, there's nothing out there. You already heard it earlier today. You want to find out whether you have COVID, take a culture and hire yourself a couple of scientists to find out whether you have it or not. And of course, you can always just do the quick search. Hey, COVID detected on surfaces. Is there anything out there in the market today? No, there's not. Next slide. So in our design phase, we wanted to come up with a couple of things. And special thanks here, because you're going to see, hey, that light bulb looks familiar. So Jake Glenn from the high traffic decom team, also known as Off the Rails, and Challenge America bringing it up. We are going to actually be replacing. So while we have built this little light source, and by the way, for all those looking for batteries, we got them. And we're looking to flash and decontaminate rooms, and we're looking to do it in seconds instead of the minutes that it's taking a lot of the other systems. And then we needed to get into detection. And so in detection, we've modified our current system, and this is kind of our ideation process. The ideation process called Scamper. Scampers where we're taking out all the parts where we're using stuff, and hey, we're throwing it together, see what we could come up with. And so we came up with, hey, let's come up with a new handle for this so we can detect by putting it up against the surface and ding, no COVID found. It buzzes if there is COVID found. And that's actually one of the things that we still need to work on from our design phase is actually getting a COVID signature for ramen. And we'll go into that. The next part was communication. We wanted to communicate in a couple of ways. One, we wanted something to be able to hand the customers when they come into hotels, and we wanted to have a display that went through the communication. We just had a great presentation on communication. This would be something that would be great to show in the kiosk so people waiting in the hotel lobby can continue to learn and read about. Next slide. So when we use detection, I mentioned ramen, and many people don't know what ramen is and how it's used. So we're just giving a very overly simplified picture of how it is. So what happens is you have light comes in, it hits the COVID. Instant laser comes in, and most of the time, the light that comes out is the same light that goes in. But on occasion, about 1% of the time, you'll either get a little bit more or a little bit less on the light on the out. That'll give us a signature. And it's through that science that we're able to detect COVID. Next slide. So our solution, make it fast and easy. That's our goal. This thing, portable, you can drop it in an elevator, turn it on, and wait like a minute, and when the elevator will close, it will clean the whole elevator up. The solution for detection, put this on the surface, bing, you'll get the definition of whether you have COVID or not. Now, we still need to go through some certification regulatory needs. Hey, we are running with lasers, and they do have to get approved. Next slide. Moving forward, thanks to our introductions from Challenge America, the VA administration, we are now meeting with members of the CDC so that we can go in, test, and validate that we actually have the signatures for COVID and add it to our system. Next. Thank you. Now, any questions? I'm sorry, Dallas, you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Well, you missed a really good joke. I said, boy, before we begin, I just want to say I apologize for giving you such an easy challenge. No, that's incredible. So thank you so much for taking that on. So here's one question. What's the approximate contrast ratio for detection? And then what minimum, I don't know how to pronounce this, teeter, do you think you might be able to detect?
With the current system, we're looking in the parts per million for identifying whether you have COVID or not. We are actually working on a new system, which would be in the parts per trillion, but alas, that probably won't be out for another year and a half.
Okay. Waiting for some more questions to come in. While they do, is there any possibility, and I apologize if I miss this, is there any possibility that the light you're using to detect will also simultaneously kill the virus?
There is that possibility, and actually on our newer system, we are actually building that in as part of the functionality that after it does a test, it will also destroy.
Oh, wow.
But it's only doing that at a spot location. If you want to clean, it's not a good cleaning solution, but we are looking at that from a decontamination so that the device itself can self-clean.
Okay. So here's a question. Are there any other organisms that it can detect?
The answer is yes. We've actually used a system to detect E. coli with the Army, and so we do have that capability.
So if you were to use this in an average size, let's say a hotel room, how long would it take to complete the test, do you think?
Well, to complete the test is going to be working with the hotel, hitting the high use areas. As we showed, we're just hitting everything with a spot yay big. So we're just doing spot checking. From our light source, Wes has promised me, he's our engineer, he can throw out as much energy as you want so that we can blast it and flash it with a UVC light to really clean that. And once again, thanks to Jake Glenn, we're going to be utilizing his light and trying that out. Expected delivery is Monday, so Wes is all waiting to put that on. Okay.
And then do you have any estimate of the cost for this unit?
We're still going to go through the cost. It's still part of the regulatory period, regulatory cost, just as a rough estimate. We're looking at the flashlight we're doing is probably going to be a couple $100. Our current system is running at around $40,000 for the detection. And we're looking at volumes to be able to drop it down to a couple $1,000s each. But right now it's running around 40,000. Thank you.
Also has a lease option.
Yes.
Okay. And so let's see here. Who else do we have? So it has to wait for a virus signature. How long will it take to get that virus signature?
We're just waiting in line with several other research groups with the COVID. We are working with the Air Force, so we're expecting if we have to wait for the Air Force grant that's potentially coming in, we'll probably get it in the fall. We are working with some of the contacts provided by Challenge America and by Grant. And so we are working through those as well to see if we can expedite that to any time. As soon as they tell us we can be in the lab, we can have equipment there within 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
James, I think maybe he was asking about how long does it take to get a positive result if you're using the machine?
Yeah.
Getting a positive result with using the machine should be taking just a few seconds for detection.
Okay. And then just one final question, because I know we're running out of time. Will the UVC change the structure enough to detect a dead virus versus a live one?
Actually, we are looking at that, and mathematically it looks like it's possible, and that's one of the things that we want to validate.
Okay. Okay. Well, great job, you guys. I'm sorry I have to cut the question short, but please, if you're interested in this, again, please continue to send questions out to these teams. I think it's incredible. So thank you all so much. We're really excited about this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So our next up is our last team, Team HermTac, and presenting for this team is Kevin Patel. So Kevin, take it away.
Everybody, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we're Team HermTac. If you ever need to find us, 844 HermTac. Hermes was the god of innovation. TAC is short for speed. You can also email us hi@hermtac.com. It's me, Darren, Luke, Dan, Thune, Brad, Daisy, John. We don't have a lot of time. Next slide. So we were tasked with sanitizing luggage, delivery, stuff that come into buildings. In this case, hotel, but we had a lot of pressure from VA staff to make it also for hospitals. I'm not going to name any names. So we try to make something that was uncomplicated, already kind of like people are used to using. We started out with a conveyor belt or a model like X-ray scanner in the airport, so people would automatically kind of be used to it, but we took out the conveyor for now and switched modes to this tessellated panel design. You'll see why in the future. Our goal is just to reduce pathogens. Nothing's gonna be 0 or 100% effective, but you put a bunch of technologies together and hopefully it just reduces it. Next slide, please. So we learned from our assigned user that Michael is basically the best hotel CEO in the world, and he should probably buy one of these. Also, bellhops are probably going away. He taught us a lot about the economics, like the pricing of hotel rooms, the margins, the slim margins, the amount of like cash that they have on hand for new investments versus they like to, let's say, lease stuff without upfront costs. A lot of the psychology, maybe gamifying things to entertain customers so they don't lose interest. We all know we have pretty short attention spans as humans, I guess. And also, it was very nice having him so we could see through the eyes of a potential purchaser, how their mind kind of works. And some of the hurdles on the existing solutions are really UVC stuff is super hard to get right now. You can't get it within 2 days like Amazon Prime usually, and they're super expensive and they've jacked up the prices, and they also don't like sharing prices and stuff. It's anyways, it's pretty ripe market to disrupt. Just take a jab at them. Next slide. The requirements we came up with is we wanted to have rapid manufacturability, like within this week, or tool up to 500 or 1,000 a day by next week. We wanted interchangeable technologies on the panels. So first off, tessellated panels are anything that fit together, kind of like puzzle pieces that are the same. So when you see these boxes in the background, it's 6 of the same piece. And we have far UV coming out in the future, like 6 months down from now. So we want to be able to change as technologies change. Like if you needed heat, or if you needed a chemical solution panel for fog or mist. So anyways, we also wanted to reconfigure the size. We don't know what size it is. So these stack multiple tall, multiple wide, multiple width. You can change the volume as you see fit just by adding more panels. And we wanted everything to be from Lowe's or Amazon Prime so we could actually make some functional this week. We wanted to be able to flat pack and ship it out or airdrop it into quarantine zones. We know the whole world's not going to shut down our countries again. They're going to really lock down on specific metroplexes for future pandemics. And we wanted the panels, we made them 30-inch. We wanted like 27 is standard for suitcase check-in, airline, and 32-inch doors ADA. So we wanted to be able to fit through doors and be large enough to fit luggage that goes in planes. Cool little thing we found out is people don't end up buying UVC lights for fish ponds at Lowe's. So that's a cool little hack for you if you need to find them. And next slide. We brainstormed all sorts of stuff, light technologies, chemicals, temperatures. We started out with this conveyor ideas and pivoted to a tessellated panel. We did it quickly. Like Friday, we brainstormed out 1,000 ideas. Saturday, went over them. Sunday, dialed it down, selected one, and just spearheaded a very specific direction really quickly at the beginning. Next. Back one, I think. Okay. So this is our Asian solution, like tessellation, sanitation station. So like Thune over here, she has one. The Philips little ones you usually get are like 6 or 9 watts. We decided to make this 432. The team wouldn't let me make it 864 watts. In comparison, those LEDs people are showing are usually like 20 milliwatts. So this is more powerful than any product I've seen or robot or sanitation box from any corporation or company on the market. Oh, 6 minutes is up? Oh, okay. 0 to 10 seconds, 2 minutes to manufacture. Next. We built it for 175 bucks each. I think they're 100, 110 bucks if we weren't just Amazoning everything or overnighting. Anyways, I guess my time's kind of up. Can we just turn it on? Can you switch screens to another camera, Dallas? Thune's camera? We don't have we'll see, well, we got it working and fire in the hole. Yeah, I think. Can you bring up Thune's?
What did you want me to do, Kevin?
Pull up Thune's live feed on her camera. Because like we can't necessarily be in the same thing as this thing because since it sterilizes people. So we
live feed in her camera. I'm sorry.
Thune. She's a participant.
Yeah.
And can you bring up that?
Maggie, can you help me with that?
I'm trying to unmute soon, and that will help to kind of pull her up, and then she can speak from there. But it's, oh, I almost get it, and then, okay. Oh, no. I can't unmute your camera for some reason.
And I keep
don't have to unmute it, just
There you go.
full screen the video.
I don't know how to do that without
Okay,
someone
try it.
speaking.
Mute.
So I think if everybody's
Unmute.
quiet and then Thune speaks,
Hey,
then
there it stayed. Okay.
There, okay, there it works.
now?
All right, fire in the hole.
Okay.
All right, everyone get out of the way. Protect your DNA chains. Or RNA, some of y'all are weird. But yeah, I mean, we put like about over 50 times what you usually do in there. And we think it's somewhere in between instantaneous to like 9 something seconds instead of like 6 to 10 minutes, like most things. So people won't get bored. It's pretty quick. I think it'll really destroy viruses. Well, I guess, do we have the last slide in questions?
Yeah, so let's go into questions. I think this is great. So let's see here. Is it can it run on a single 110 volt plug?
Yeah, I put twice as much in. It's only 432 watts, so it's about 7 amps. And the feedback loop, can you mute it?
Okay. How do you get whatever is being sanitized in and out?
Can you say that again?
How do you get the item being sanitized into the device and out of the device?
Oh, someone throws something in it. I mean, it has like doors and it has a grate, like you could slide luggage on it. They close, they have safety switches. It will not normally fire if it's not closed properly, but we just kind of disabled the safety switch for you guys. But luggage will slide on those fence grates. You'll see it in the bill of materials. So you know it's there.
Okay.
But okay, all right,
so
don't do that.
We had one question about ozone. Are you smelling any ozone?
Nope.
Okay.
We didn't use those. Yep,
Okay.
the glass on those bulbs absorbs it. But it's, I mean, it's the best we could do with Amazon Prime and Lowe's.
Right.
Because our other orders didn't come through. But
Okay.
any other questions? What were they?
Let's see. An interesting
Oh,
application.
yeah, we also, I forgot to give a shout out to Sherry. They already ordered the testing kits and infectious disease at the VA on rush order, and the biolabs ready to test. It's been approved, purchased, rushed, so waiting for that. And
she is our infection control for the product and for the VA too.
yeah, so yeah, but it's about 50 times the power. We can easily make it 100 times more than regular stuff, and I think it's quicker than 9 seconds, but we'll see. There's a lot of math on there.
Okay. Well, great job, you guys. Great job, team.
Cool. And
well, you can take a break after the awards. How about that?
Okay.
So great job, you guys. So hey, everybody, just before we move back to, this is the last presentation, but I did finally get the video for the team bus decon, and they asked if I could show it, and I apologize we couldn't get that to work earlier. So what I'd like to do now is see if I can do a screen share with that and play that video. Okay. Hopefully everyone was able to see that. Okay, good. Well, excellent. So great job, everybody. At this point, I think what we're going to do is go ahead and ask the judges to move into the breakout room. So Rhonda will lead that process and guide everyone into the breakout room, all the judges anyway, into the breakout room. Everyone else, stick with us because we're going to have some amazing entertainment from Craig Skinner. So Craig is amazing. He's an attorney in Boulder, Colorado, and he helps us out all the time. He's attended our and served as a songwriter for our music therapy retreats for veterans with post-traumatic stress in Nashville and out here in Colorado. So he's an amazing musician, and it's a real coup for us to get him here today. So Craig, go ahead and play away.
Hey, Dallas. I'm not seeing Craig on here unless he's listed on a different name. So hopefully you can let me know.
Hopefully he was able to join. I'll come up with a plan B real fast. How about that?
You can hop on the guitar.
Yeah, right.
There is a hand raised from Luke, and I don't know if we have time for a hand raise or.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can you kind of navigate that? I'm not sure how to do that.
They don't have an audio, so I actually can't
knock, knock
Luke.
jokes.
So
I think you want my knock, knock jokes.
I was thinking maybe Luke is Craig. I don't know.
Let's see here. Let's try this. I'll just play some YouTube action.
Okay, everyone take a break.
Turning over words that read nowhere, picking up the signal of a distant jet. Roots never tied me down to the shallowest ground. Born into the year of who knows when, brought up on waves left way back then, searching for a wild to snap and a trail to travel. What would it take for a dreamer to wake? It could have been you. Line after line, the code was all mine, but who's been who? It could have been you. Fractures to the core, cut me out. Synapse reeling when the zero blows. Looking for a number to be someone like me. Fingers to the stars before they sink. Palms are raised, trembling at the brink. Take me to the portal. I gotta waste the road. What will it take for a sleep away? It's haunting me. Frame after frame, the lay of the game, but who's playing? It could have been you. Frame after frame, lay of the game, but it's playing through. Hope dreams, hope lies, while reality sleeps. Hope reigns, hope plays, till the wrecking ball spins. Till the wrecking ball spins. And it cuts just like a knife, rolls on like a tear, to bleed down my cheek. And it pulls just like a gun, firing straight to the heart, leaves a black hole inside. Leaves a black hole inside. Hope drinks, hope brags, when sobriety's out. Hope swears, how it swears, that tomorrow will come. That tomorrow will come. And it burns just like a flame, brings fear to the bone, finds the fire inside. And I rage against the hope you lit under my skin, that you love me again. Will you love me again? Now I'm leaving out the dark for the last of the light to drown out this spark. so no flowers will come. No, no flowers will come. Your spell is on. Black crows circling up above, crying out, do you hear that sound? I never thought it'd come to this, paradise raised to the ground. Sometimes I don't sleep at night, I hear the wind in the moaning trees. I wonder how much I will fare with wars and bombs and thieves. Thunder has begun. Some are blind but choose to see, lies into the truth they weave. Some put their trust in faith, some say I don't believe. But each man unto himself is an island in a raging sea, with a boat to anchor or sail, of the two which will it be? The thunder has begun. The thunder has begun. The thunder has The storm is gonna come. 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 A storm is gonna come. Who's the one now watching you? Who says your rights are wrong? When the preacher and the judge are lying, a change is coming, it won't be long. We may have burned the bridge too far, we may have run ourselves too far. When you look into the mirror, friend, what is it that you wanna ask? The thunder has begun. Dear Father, when you left me here, you lay your head in eternal sleep. You told me only love remains. Love is all up above. Cry, do you hear that sound? I never thought it'd come to this. Paradise raised to the ground. The thunder has begun. The thunder has begun. The thunder has begun. The storm is gonna come. A 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 storm is gonna come. More likely source.
Hey everyone, we finally got Craig on. So Craig, we just have to unmute you. Maggie, hopefully you can help with that, and then Craig can go ahead and play. Let's see.
Working on it. Just
Okay,
just
got it.
doesn't work sometimes.
There we go.
I
Okay,
think-
Craig, you're up.
Hey, so we're in the middle of band practice. So you're in luck. I've got a band, and we're in Boulder, and we're called Lucky Me. And I hope we don't.
And we only have about 5 minutes left, Craig, just so you know.
Here we go.
Okay, thanks.
1, 2, 3, 4. I heard the cry of Abraham. Dear Lord, I don't know who I am. God said I'll make you anyone you want to be. He said that's it, lucky me. Lucky me.
Sounds great, guys. Thank you. Thanks for letting us listen in.
Sure. We can do more or we're through, whatever you say.
Yeah, we'll just tune in a little bit more to your band practice until the judges come back in. So play us another.
Oh my girl, her heart's so full, she can barely breathe. Tender like a flower, shining like a weed. Tell me that you're here, it's not right, and your face is wrong, and get used to the sight. Everyone's never long, left you standing like an orphan in the middle of the night. Tell me, no one needs me, nobody loves me. I'm such a lonely girl. No one sees me, nobody hears me. Such a lonely girl. Oh my girl, tell me where never see you fly, see you fall, and I watch you crash and cry. See the way you turn your eyes from the pain of love to analyze. It's just another life. They're just a waste of time. No one needs me. Nobody loves me. Such a lonely girl. No one sees me. Nobody hears. Such a lonely girl. Every time you slip away, every time you disappear, I scream and shout just to be the only one, the only one you'll be. Every time you slip away, every time you disappear, I scream and shout just to be the only one, only one. Oh my girl, this noisy world always turning down. Coming without a voice, then you leave without a sound. I got you in my arms tonight, I'm holding underneath with all your might. Just before the morning sun, come bring it to my lips, whisper in my ear and tell me, no one needs me.
loves me. Such a lonely girl. No one sees me. Nobody hears. Such a noisy world. No one needs me. Nobody loves me. Such a lonely girl. No one sees me. Nobody hears. Such a noisy world.
Woohoo! Sounds great. Can you tell us what those songs are called?
The first song we played was called Lucky Me. That's the same name as our band.
Okay.
Because we wanted a song with the same name. The second song was called Noisy World, and that's a song of ours also.
Great. And do you have a website for Lucky Me?
We have a Facebook page.
Facebook page? Okay.
Not a website. We should have a website, shouldn't we?
Sounds great. Everyone's commenting how much they're loving it.
Oh, good. I'm glad we're blowing the speakers away. Should we play another one or not?
Yeah, I think the judges you guys all blew them away so much, they're having a hard time there. So go ahead and play us another, if you don't mind.
Okay, this is an old song. Maybe people will recognize the old Sam and Dave song. Is that in the second set? No, last song in the first set. Here it is. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Something's wrong with my baby. Something is wrong with me. If she is worried, you know I feel the same. We've been together so long. We stand as one. That's what makes it better. Something is wrong with my baby. Something is wrong with me. She is worth. I know some of y'all just can't understand. 'Cause I've heard you say she's no good, she's no good. But I know she's my woman. I'm her man. If she has a problem, I know I'm gonna solve it for her. That's good.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
All right, so the judges are coming back in, so that was perfect, and we really appreciate the entertainment and beautiful sounds coming our way from Boulder, Colorado.
We appreciate being asked, and thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. That's lucky me.
Thanks, everybody. So the judges are coming back, as Maggie said. It was a very difficult judging process. You know, all these solutions are so amazing. So, I want to let everybody know, I'm sorry this has run a little bit long. You know, it was very difficult to make some of these decisions on these awards. So, but I think we're ready to present now. So we'll try to get through this part quickly so that everybody can enjoy what's left of your Sunday. Thank you so much for bearing with us. So first up, we've got Michael Koopman talking about or presenting the first two awards, the first of which is the Business Value Award. Michael?
So Dallas, I don't see Michael in here yet. Are they coming back from the breakout room?
Let me go back into the breakout room and see if they're still there.
Okay. They're lost in the breakout room.
Lost in virtual. Oh, there he is.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry, everyone. We got locked into our breakout room, so I think we'll slowly make our way back out. Thanks for waiting. So I'll be presenting the first two awards. I hope that's where we're at in this presentation. Since I just
Yep, absolutely. So you're up, and we're doing the Business Value Award first.
Excellent. Yeah, we thought all of these presentations were great. A lot of great ideas, especially for such a short timeline. Very impressive. So without further ado, so for the Business Value Award, the project that solved the problem while aligning with business goals, we chose to award this to Rona Busters because they identified, a really good plan to get to market. We liked their way of identifying those high traffic areas. So congratulations and great job from all the judges. The second award is on user experience and design. So this was on usefulness and usability of the project or of the product. And for this one, we chose Team Clean Equipment. So we thought that their ease of use and scalability was really good here. And so, again, congratulations, really great.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So our next presenter, the next judge, will be Keith Weaver. Keith, would you like to go ahead and take it over and present on the Feasibility Award and the Innovation Award? Takes us just a second behind the scenes to unmute the right people. Sorry about that. Hopefully by the time we get to the last program that we do in this series, we'll have it all dialed in. We'll be Zoom masters. Keith, are you with us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. I'm presenting the award for feasibility, which is the Can't Touch Me. I thought it was one of the most practical awards. It's something that we could use in the business that I own, which is a commercial janitorial company. In fact, I think there are uses even beyond that, just for practicality for people out in the no-touch society and the distance society. I thought it was very practical, very innovative. Thank you very much.
And then next up is the Innovation Award. Keith, I think you're doing that one as well.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No worries.
Again, I thought it was very innovative. I would have never thought of something of that nature on a railing. I liked the innovation with the use of the lights. In fact, I had a lot of questions on everybody's presentation on the using the light system versus the disinfecting system. So I did like that, because railing is extremely hard to deal with in the applications that we're in right now. Lots of railing. We have a 900,000 square foot building that we have to try to disinfect railing, and it's the most time consuming. So I did like the presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Keith. We really appreciate that, and congratulations to the teams. And so now up for the Innovation Experience Award, we'll turn it over to Allison.
Can you hear my dog?
Yes, perfect.
Great, it's really fun. The Innovation Experience Award, the IEX Award, is the award that is tied to the trip and the ability to demonstrate at, oh, now you get a kid too, that's all kicking off. It's great, this is great. This is the big one. Everything, all the things considered, business, innovation, everything considered is Team HermTech. You have won a trip to the Innovation Experience in whatever form it might take come October. Might be a little bit different this year, but congratulations. You checked all of the boxes, and well done.
Yay!
I think it could be very, I wish that was at the, I wish it was at the airport next month when I have to go to the airport, so. Yeah, very good.
I love everyone. I love life.
Well, thank you, everyone. This is, and again, I don't want to rush this, but you know, I know we have kept you longer than we said. You know, this has been incredible. The solutions everyone came up with this time around, I think, even exceed what we did the first program. So this is absolutely amazing. We're so excited to continue working with you all over the coming weeks to find pathways to further refine and manufacture all of your solutions. So please be on the lookout for messages from us. You haven't heard the last of us, or Maggie, or Rhonda, or Danielle. We will absolutely be reaching out to you very soon. But I also, one last plug, I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank our partners. I want to thank all of our amazing judges. I want to thank all of you for so much of your time and hard work over this last week, putting all of this together. And I want to do one extra plug for our next program. So you'll get some time to relax. 4th of July weekend will be in between this program and the next one. But the next one gets underway on July 10th. And it focuses on the challenges facing folks who work in nursing homes and assisted living facilities. where over 42% of the COVID-related fatalities have occurred so far in the United States. So we're really excited to take on this challenge. We're going to be working hard over the coming weeks to solicit those challenges. So please pay close attention to our website. We'll be updating information on there. But for now, get outside, and if you can, enjoy what's left of your day. Hopefully it's beautiful wherever you are. Stay healthy, stay well, and thank you all so much for your time and your hard work. We so very much appreciate it. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, everyone. Thank you so much.